I was based predominantly in Kabul, and my role was to look after the mentoring and the training of the infantry side of the Afghan National Army, and that role encompassed lots of things, predominantly making sure the army commanders at various levels were trained appropriately, and that then when they deployed to their forward locations, whether that was in sort of Mazar-Sharif or in sort of other locations like Herat, that they were properly integrating and so on.
US President Biden said in his speech the other night that the Afghan troops just weren't willing to fight. Can you tell us what was your experience with them?
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's nonsense. The Afghan troops are good troops, they are good people, and it's very easy to dissociate ourselves from them. They were effectively leading combat operations in Afghanistan from 2014, so this isn't something that's happened suddenly. I think the distinguishing point is the fact that the Americans have left suddenly, and I think that's what's caused this rupture and this sudden sort of change that we've seen in the last few days.
We've seen some very distressing scenes on television. Can you tell us what your personal thoughts are when you look at that?
I've been thinking about this, and it's sort of the stages of grief. I think initially it's shock. You know, we couldn't quite comprehend how what was happening, and then anger and frustration at how we've effectively allowed this to happen. And I think now most people are moving into sort of disbelief and sort of sadness. It's a very sad situation, and obviously for those that served in Afghanistan, it's more personal. We effectively looked these people in the eye, we told them things that we thoroughly believed at the time, lots of phrases that the army and the military use, such as hearts and minds, and Shona Shona, standing next to your Afghan counterpart, and so on. And effectively, we did that for 20 years. And so to see what we're seeing on the television, it is extremely distressing. It brings into question, you know, what the point was of being there. People sort of are trying to put this into perspective in terms of, have we as in individuals betrayed our Afghan counterparts, our brothers, our colleagues? And so a lot of people that have been there, and a lot of serving people and retired people, will be wrestling with those things.
What do you think now? Do you look back and think, has it all been for nothing?
Whether it was all in vain, I mean, the armed forces, you know, I certainly wore the Union flag on the sleeve of my uniform with great pride. I believed it stood for a force for good. And I think now a lot of people are going to be reflecting on that. Did what we did in Afghanistan, was that good or not? And were we used in a way that perhaps we feel that we betrayed our sort of Afghan colleagues and counterparts? So the jury is really out on that, but at the moment I really can't see how we can put this together in a way that what's happened over the last 10 days is actually a good thing.
Well, Afghanistan is a big country full of rich culture, wonderful people. Can you tell us what fond memories you take away with you but fear now going forward will be lost under Taliban rule?
So, I mean, for me personally, it was very it was a pleasure actually to be amongst the Afghan people in big cities like Kabul, in Herat, in Mazar-Sharif. I mean, these are big cities, they're not villages or towns or however people that haven't been there might conceptualize them. They are cities like you and I know. And when you drive through them, they are bustling cities, people going to work, there's people trading and going about their business on the streets, there are children running up to you, and so on. So obviously I have very fond memories of that. The beauty of the country. Kabul is a beautiful place. It snows heavily, it's very mountainous, very colourful and very vibrant. So yeah, I have very fond memories of Afghanistan and of Kabul in particular.